right, welcome to the Modcast number 22. I'm Gordo. That's Gary. The AI in the RIA space beyond the hype, part 1, Gary Roth.
I'm fired up for this one, Gordo.
Yeah, I know. It's maybe because I'm addicted to the tools. I don't know. Well, I am excited about this one. So this is episode 22. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry, that's one of like 4 Taylor Swift songs I know. So
yeah, that's Tay Tay, as she's known as.
That's vintage at this point.
Yeah. The big wedding. It's gonna happen, I hear. Hey, so this is all about AI. A recent conference where we were both in attendance. A conference where our partnership development team was in attendance, and a number of other things that we've heard in the space recently. A couple surveys we've read, some articles that have been out in the industry news lately. All things artificial intelligence. AI is the hot topic of the moment. And this is part 1 of a 2-part series. We're going to have people, we're going to have Mike Capelli join us on the next one. And we're going to get kind of like, what is our firm doing with AI and how are we investing in that? And how are we using it in the firm? But
well, Gordon, I'd like to suggest it's part 1 of a series. And I think after this show is done, we'll plug the transcript into our favorite AI tools and let them tell us how many episodes we should have on this.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it will inform us. Actually, what we could do is we can upload all the modcasts into an AI tool, and we could say, take Gordo and Gary's, thoughts and feedback and comments, and just have our AI bot do all future modcasts.
How do you know that's not happening right now?
I don't, but I feel real. Okay. All right. Anyway, you had an interesting stat that you just shared with me. It was at a conference where we were both there, as well as Mike.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. It was all of the most senior executives in our industry had responded. So these are leaders of all the big firms in our industry. They had responded to a survey, and you have the results. What was the stat?
Yeah, so it's really interesting, and I think we should give attribution. This was at the Tiburon Advisors CEO Summit. That's a Tiburon Strategic Advisors industry sort of think tank. And as of the time of this recording, we were at their conference last week, and Chip Rome, the CEO there, he's a font of information, and but they survey everyone who's attending on some key topics to sort of get sort of the picture of how people are thinking on a lot of things. And there were a few questions around artificial intelligence, and so there are sort of 2 paired questions. The first question was, will artificial intelligence significantly change how your firm works?
Right.
And 69% said yes, 31% said no. I don't know who those 31% are, but maybe maybe they do something different than everyone else in the room. But anyway, 69% of the people who were in the room said yes, it's going to significantly change the way our firm works. But then the next question was, do you have an artificial intelligence strategy, your company? And 75% said no.
Yeah. So 69 say it's going to, it's going to make a massive impact. Right. It's going to happen. The train is coming down the tracks. We better get the freak either on board or out of the way.
Right.
And then
3/4 say, but we're not actually doing anything about it.
Yeah.
So I thought that, so that's kind of the thing we're going to be examining in the first part of this episode, is just that dichotomy.
Well, hey, before you go there, the thing that I liked most about that stat when it was on the screen is the presenter said, so if anybody tells you they have an AI strategy, they're lying.
Or 3 out of 4 are lying.
At least 75% of them.
Yeah, and maybe the 25% are lying too, that say they have one.
Who knows?
Maybe they're wrong.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting because it feels like this is one of these inflection points kind of like when the internet was first starting, and it was like, do you have an internet strategy? And it was like, we have a website, which was about all you could do at the beginning. But it was the sort of thing where it was like, everyone knows it's going to impact their business, but nobody was quite sure exactly how or how to approach it. I'm talking about in this space. Obviously, you've got tech firms out there making massive bets. You've got data centers, you've got all these ancillary businesses that are directly engaged in the sort of the creation of artificial intelligence tools and consultants around that. But for wealth management, which is the focus of this show and hopefully this audience, unless you're really confused and came to this accidentally, in which case, welcome. You probably left already. It's, I think, a really interesting question that we'll try and unpack a little bit, and then in at least one, if not more, future episodes, talk more specifically about what are people actually doing. But I think the first question for me, I'd like us to talk about is, how is it possible, or what are some reasons why you can have, let's just call it roughly 3/4 saying this is going to be hugely important, and then also 3/4 saying, and yet we don't actually have any plans.
One reason for that particular stat to be almost identical is it's so early, right? Like you brought up the internet and the invention of the creation of the internet. And basically we all had digital business cards when that started. And then it started to evolve, right? And we had Internet 2.0. And that's when people really started to be able to monetize the internet and actually engage with people and build relationships. And I think much of the robo-advisor could be much of the same, right? In the early days, you had the early adopters, but now you have some advisors who are using back-end robo-advisor-like platforms to manage money or to help them manage money, right? We don't do that, but there are firms that do that. And that's what's helped the robo-advisor monetize their business and their practice. It's the evolution of it, right? It's no longer the mom and pop with $1,200 that wants to contribute $100 a month that's driving the growth and development of the robo. It's all these other things that they've evolved into.
Right.
That's what we're all looking for with AI. A lot of firms, right? It's like, is this the digital business card version of the internet? Is this Internet 2.0? Is this the internet that we all live and operate in today? And I think a lot of executives are sitting here going, should I wait until the journey is a little bit deeper? Like let some of this stuff unfold before I make these huge investments in what it might become.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think that could be one thing. It's sort of the pioneer, the pioneers often end up, dying on the road on the way to wherever they're trying to go.
Nobody wants to be the Donner Party.
Right. And then it's the people behind them who've like, okay, well, we figured out not to do it that way.
Yeah.
There's water
We
over
would go
here,
around,
so
not over.
we can go around. Yeah. That could be part of it. This is also an industry that tends to be behind the curve on technology, has always tended to be behind the curve on technology.
Yeah.
And some of it is maybe the people running the companies in the industry. And I'm sure there are some people out there who view it as a great opportunity to go pick off a lot of market share by coming in as a new entrant, which we'll see, which is kind of what the robos were meant to be. And they may have picked up enough market share to have a viable business, but as you said, like it took a decade or more for them to figure out like a real business model, as it did with a lot of the internet pioneers and early companies. But so there's a question of, is it inherently sort of a conservative approach in the industry? But I'd like to maybe talk a little bit about the clients that we currently have broadly across the industry. And because one of the areas that we know firms are starting to look at or utilize artificial intelligence fused tools for, which is a great productivity enhancer, is just simply taking notes in a client meeting, right? Like, okay, because most of us now who are in business we're on meetings all the time, Teams meetings, non-client meetings, but like, internal meetings where you've got an AI note taker
Yeah.
via Teams or Zoom, or, they're just built into the tools now for the most part. And I know for us in our company meetings, our internal meetings of our enterprise teams, we use an AI note taker for our internal meetings. And when the first time we used one, I think we all like read the meeting notes afterwards and we're like, that's unbelievable. Like, it was the best set of notes, best set of minutes I've ever seen in my life at that point, and better than any person could have done, because they really recorded not just the facts of what was said, but the tone and the intention. Would be like things like a lighthearted conversation ensued on, Gordo's office decor or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
it actually got the nuance.
Yeah.
So that's so for companies that are not, client facing in a regulated business, they have no issue. And interestingly, years ago, I actually started seeing a doctor's practice where they, like not 10 years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I didn't even recognize what the technology was. I wouldn't have known the term artificial intelligence at the time, I don't think, but they had a note taking system, and it was like, of course you had to consent to it, but it was in the meeting, there's going to be a note taker. It's actually going to show you on screen as you're talking what you said. So if there's anything that you think was wrong, we can correct it, stuff like that. And it was like, okay, great. I can talk about whatever's bothering me, like my ankle or my knee or whatever. And actually it was my hip and your knee, but I wasn't talking about your knee. But that's been around for a long time. But so that's like maybe like the first foray in this business, but is that something, I mean, you were an advisor, like, undoubtedly there'll be a number of clients who might go, I'm not letting you do that. Right.
I mean, the suspicious ones, like I think, there's another reason that 3/4 of those surveyed haven't made, they haven't come up with a strategy yet. And it's something that you're talking about. Number one, it's like a regulated industry, right? So what are the rules going to be, and how quickly are the rules evolving or changing, and how do we adapt? And do you build a native tool? Do you use somebody else's tool? What if you use somebody else's tool and then bad things happen there? Like, I think there's a lot of debate and consternation around an AI approach in our industry right now.
Yeah.
That's causing a lot of people to just go like, this feels like internet 1.0. Let's just wait and see what happens here and what the rules are going to be. And some of these firms are so big, the investment is so much, and the hurdles so high to clear to get it through their compliance teams and the legal teams and the, all the marketing tools and all the stuff, right? So it's just like, that's too big of a problem for me to go solve right now. Back to your question about the clients, I think once they experience how much better meeting follow-ups are, how much better tracking against goals and objectives becomes, how much better the action steps and the sequence of those action steps, and how and when to take those action steps. Once they see that it's actually improving the advice and the service follow-ups, and I think that's the biggest part AI can help with, making sure that the next meeting agenda takes into account the last meeting and what was said and what all those action items and steps and follow-throughs were, and holding the advisor. And like you said, I've spent the first 16 years of my career as an in-seat financial advisor providing guidance and advice. I can tell you I forgot a lot about what I promised and what I was supposed to do next for the client. And when the client sees how much better that interaction is, how much better that relationship is, how much better their life is unfolded because of this tool being involved, they're all going to know, how did we ever get anything done before this?
Yeah. Well,
and it's not magic, by the way.
Right. And so we've already sort of framed our discussion of this through the lens of advisors powered by technology. Yeah. So maybe let's take a step back and ask the provocative question, because everyone loves to ask the question, first of all, will AI disrupt the wealth management industry? Undoubtedly, yes. Just like
Absolutely.
every technology did. Like, and I'm not going to say it's like these are not equivalent disruptions, but the internet changed everything. Before that, phones changed, fax machines changed things, printers changed things, like lots of technologies changed how people work.
Cars changed the way we traveled. Like
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking about in the business, like, 80 years ago, I don't know how people did it. Did they like handwrite, reports? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I could tell you how we did it when I got it, and I needed to trade an account. Okay, so I'm working for a big Wall Street firm.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to buy, let's say 1,000 shares of GE for somebody, that was a big stock at the time. And clients would call in and go, I want 1,000 shares of GE. I literally would take a piece of paper and I would write their name and account number, and they wanted to buy 1,000 shares of GE at the market, at the blah, blah, blah. I had to fill this up. And then I walked it down to the hall to this guy, Cranky Carl, which is what I called him because he was cranky. His name was Carl. And I would drop this slip of paper into Carl's cage.
Yeah, dropped a ticket.
I dropped a ticket. And then the next day I would go in and I would open the client account, and sure enough, 1,000 shares of GE would be there.
Right.
Like, can you believe that's the way we did it 26, 27 years ago?
Well,
like, and so radical.
Yeah. Well, and 10 years before that, maybe like, oh, I'm interested in a stock. I might go get a value line report.
Right. Or the red book or the
which will be like
3
months lagging by the time you're looking at it. So, but things move so slowly. It's like there was nothing, the price probably hadn't moved that much. The analysis hadn't changed. The prospect of the business hadn't changed because things were very undynamic. And but back to the question, the robo-advisor model, when it first came out, the narrative was this can replace the human advisor. And that was the battle that was sort of being fought out, at least in the industry press and things like that, like, robo versus human. And our view, obviously, as running a wealth management firm that's, peopled by, people, is that technology is a great enhancer of productivity and quality of service for people to deliver. But, okay, here's the question. People are asking now, like, and to what degree will these new technologies actually displace people? Will people just simply invest directly through an artificial intelligence-driven investment model, tool, interface, with no people behind it? I ask you that question, Jason Gordo.
So I'm going to just tell you, over the weekend, I put into my favorite AI tool that's not connected to the firm, my, kind of make-believe balance sheet, right? Like I gave them our real ages, my wife and I and our daughters, and I gave them a scenario, and all the required elements to create a good financial plan and a good investment portfolio. Good tax.
But not the real information.
Not the real, but directionally, accurate. And I said, if I was going to allocate an additional $1 million of capital, let's assume I have $1 million of extra cash. What should I do? And I think it was really good at performing basic analysis around, this is the trajectory that you're on, given the different asset classes you're telling me you own and the investments that you own and your age. This is like, it was a good thumbnail sketch of a financial plan. But when it came to allocating the capital, I believe that the advice was not great whatsoever. Right. And I think, and not that we're big, investment people at Modern, we're allocators of capital. We believe in, like just be invested. Here's what I believe. And there's an article that came out today, actually, or came out recently, that I believe, and this is my thought. I was talking to somebody who was interested in joining our firm last week, and they said, tell us about AI. And I said, will it replace advisors? And I said, exactly what the headline says in today's article. AI is not going to replace advisors. AI will replace advisors who don't use AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, meaning like you have to wrap yourself in efficient and productivity tools so that you can provide the best layer of advice, the best follow-ups, the best task management, the best note-taking, the best like way to operate in the business. And that's what the tool is going to help you do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not going to replace advisors. It will dramatically impact and inflict pain on advisors who don't use an AI tool set at some point in the very near future.
Right. So the advisors and firms who adopt, I mean, again, I will just say the latest technology, because it might be called something else within a few years, most effectively will outcompete people who don't. And that's probably always been true. Now, interestingly, so the same conference we were at, there was another question, a little more broad and on this point, which was, will artificial intelligence replace or assist wealth management firms? Choose replace or assist. 6% said replace, 94% said assist. So kind of the same thing. But I do think that there is whether it's I mean, there's always a lane for what is maybe most cutting edge. I mean, we hear a lot. You heard a lot over the last few years. I'm going to make an analogy about self-driving cars. I don't know what the percentages of people who actually have a car with self-driving technology, and then within that, how many of them actually use it. But we hear a lot about it. But some people do, and some people love it. I know some people, and I'm like, I can't believe, like, I can't even conceive of like being behind the wheel of a car and just being like, yeah, I'm doing other stuff. Here I am, and I know you have to like show your alert.
You can't do other stuff right now.
Right. You can't do other stuff. So it's also kind of like, well, what's the point? It's not like you're being chauffeured or driven by.
Well, I'll give you the use case for it. And I think AI, like this is the perfect, like my mother doesn't like to drive on the freeway. She doesn't really enjoy driving in the evening. Right. So you think about, I'm playing golf with this guy. He's 80 years old. And another guy we're playing golf with says, oh, you need to go get a car with self-driving features. So because this person couldn't see at night, like the headlights and whatnot. They're afraid they're going to hit somebody head on. And like, go get a self-driving vehicle. And then when you want to go home at night, you just punch in home and put your hands on the wheel and let it take you home. And that person did it and immediately went out and bought it, like literally that week, bought a car with self-driving capabilities, is in love with it. It's allowed him to get out of the house in the evenings again. Right. So that's how things evolve. That's the community that is helping the most.
But that's probably wasn't their target market.
No, but think about it. My mother, I don't want to drive on the freeway. I don't like driving at night. Yeah. Okay. Well, now she could drive on the freeway and drive at night because she's not doing the driving.
Right. That's interesting. But that's kind of an outlier case, but maybe illustrates the point that there's going to be a market. And I think it would be for everyone in the industry. I wouldn't dismiss, I would say that 6% replace might be really low because, we can go on for hours, which we won't today, but about, generational change. And we don't really know what that's going to be because, it brings up other questions of, okay, if you're in the typical advisor today, the average advisor by, most stats, reports, industry standard, the average is like 58 or 59 years old, right? So there's a little bit of the like, okay, 58, 59 is not old, but you're not going to teach a 58-year-old dog new tricks, maybe. They will learn some new tricks.
Because we're in that decade.
I'm aware. That's why I'm saying not old. But if you're 22 or 25 and you're thinking about getting into wealth management, you're probably going to be thinking about doing it in a way that's very different than the person who started 35 years ago thinks about it. And if I was 22 or 23 or 24 or 25 and I was thinking about like creating a business in this space, it would be natively digital from the jump, in every possible way, because unless you were trying to be, unless it was like you're like the you know the the record player, I saw something online yesterday,
Make it a comeback.
like listening rooms where people like sit and put headphones on and listen to records. It was like, I get that. It feels super retro and cool, and
It's making a comeback.
it's making a comeback. But
So were
the reality is,
typewriters, by the way.
the reason why people did that in the 70s is because A, that was the only way they could listen to music, and B, there was nothing else to do. And
Well, I think what you're getting at is the younger generation that we all hope to work with and serve is never going to work with an advisor that's not using the most current tool set and methodology in providing guidance and advice, in providing best outcomes and custom and specific outcomes to that particular individual.
Yeah.
The younger your client, the higher their expectation is that you're using a digital tool set.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like eMoney, Money Guide Pro, and Finance, like the financial planning tools or Schwab or Fidelity.com, or like, that's not a digital tool. Those are applications that help you with their money.
That's reporting.
Yeah. That's just asset custody and reporting. Right. That's it. So the younger the person is that you're wanting to work with or attract as a client, it's a direct correlation to like expectation that you'll use these tools.
Yeah.
They can engage with the tool.
Right. The table stakes are different depending upon who you're working with.
Yeah.
For sure. But most people aren't working with anyone that age yet. So there's none of that impact.
I don't know. There's a lot of 35 or 40-year-olds out there that are pretty comfortable in AI tools and, working.
Yeah. Right. But the bulk of the money being managed is still in the is definitely still in the, baby boomer, Gen X, and then millennial. And then we're just barely starting to get to Gen Z, but it's going to move. It's going to move quickly. And maybe that kind of closes the loop on the why do 75% have no strategy. It's because 85 to 90% of their clients, or at least their AUM and therefore revenue, are slotted into the category of people who either don't care or don't want any change, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't have to be more efficient or have a better service model, because the service models work fine. And the people that they're serving are getting what they want, but it's what's going to come down the road.
Yeah. Here's what I would say. If somebody said, hey, I'm within 10 years of retirement from this industry as an advisor, what should I do? Minimum AI note taker. At minimum, you should be organizing your operation and teams around some sort of tool. But you don't need to go all in. I don't think you have to be 100% everything AI and, like totally dialed in. If you're within 5 years, whatever, use some of the tools that are already built. But if you're going to be in this business for more than a decade, you better get on board. If you want to be relevant.
Yeah.
If you want to have a booming career, if you want to compete, because guess what? All the big firms are figuring it out. They may not have figured it out yet, but they're going to figure it out over the next 3 to 5 years.
And if you're running a firm that's got a next generation that is going to survive you need them to have that platform.
Or if you want to attract the next generation advisor.
Right.
Like a lot of next generation advisors, they walk in your office, they see a fax machine, they're turning around and leaving. Like, don't tell me about your tech stack. I see a fax machine on the back counter. I'm out.
If I saw a fax machine, I would turn around for sure. If I heard one, I would my mind would be blown.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've talked about where things are, which is a lot of people kind of looking around going, I know I need to do something. And, but I don't really have a plan yet. And, next time we touch this topic, I think we'll talk a little bit more about what people are doing
including us.
including
We'll
us.
give you our
We'll share.
playbook.
We'll
Yeah.
share. Not every. Maybe we don't share everything we're doing.
Every minor detail, all the way.
So hit us up with any questions of things you'd like us to address on this topic if you have thoughts. And we're going to keep diving into this. It's going to be a persistent theme.
Yeah, because it's going to impact our industry. So, hey, if you like the show and one of us, if not both of us, just share it with your friends. Go on all your favorite listening devices, YouTube, Spotify. That's where I gather information. Any other platform that you use, we're there. If you want to chat or you want to discuss anything, it's Modcast.show. You can engage with us there. And Gary, is that it? Is that final?
I'm just plugging this into ChatGPT to see. Yeah, we're good.
All right, good. Well, we have official sign off. I'm Gordo. That's Gary. We'll catch you next time on the Modcast.